Just good morning. Today we are going to know about diencephalon. Diencephalon. Now I want to give you a division of brain. Prosencephalon, mesencephalon, telencephalon. Forebrain, midbrain, hindbrain. So prosencephalon, diencephalon, mesencephalon, midbrain, telencephalon, hindbrain. Cerebellum, medulla, pons, hindbrain. Midbrain is midbrain. So first one is cerebrum and second one is diencephalon. So prosencephalon, mesencephalon, telencephalon are forebrain, midbrain, hindbrain. Forebrain is prosencephalon and diencephalon. Like that, we can classify diencephalon. Diencephalon is present between this is all the cerebrum. So this is the frontal lobe, this is the parietal lobe, this is the temporal lobe, this is the occipital lobe, this is the occipital lobe, this is the occipital lobe, this is the parietal lobe, this is the frontal lobe, this area is temporal lobe. If you remove this temporal lobe, part of the temporal lobe, you will find this blue color one that is called diencephalon. So immediately below the diencephalon, midbrain is there. This one is pons, this one is pons, and this one is medulla. So the diencephalon is present between the cerebrum above and midbrain below. It is present between the cerebrum above and midbrain below. This is the diencephalon. It is covered by the temporal lobe. If you remove this temporal lobe, then you will find the diencephalon. Now, after studying this chapter, diencephalon, you must be able to divide the diencephalon into divisions and subdivisions. You must be able to divide the diencephalon into divisions and subdivisions. Now, you have to describe the ventral tier of nuclei in the lateral part of thalamus and their connections. Ventral tier of nuclei in the lateral part of thalamus and their nuclei. Describe hypothalamic regions and nuclei located in these regions. Describe the connections of hypothalamus with neurohypophysis and adenohypophysis. After studying this one as a whole, you have to study the divisions and subdivisions of diencephalon. So you have to study the what type of nuclei are present in the thalamus, then hypothalamus, and the connections of hypothalamus, neurohypophysis, and adenohypophysis, and the connections of thalamus. So they are afferents and efferents. First of all, you must know the divisions and subdivisions of the diencephalon. At the end of this session, you must be able to know this one, this one, this one, and this one. This is the aim and object of this chapter. So once again, I am telling you, diencephalon is present between the cerebrum and the midbrain. So midbrain, pons, medulla oblongata belongs to brainstem. Cerebellum, pons, and medulla. You can take it as a hindbrain. So midbrain. Then you can take it as a forebrain and prosencephalon and diencephalon. So forebrain, midbrain, hindbrain. Forebrain, midbrain, and this is hindbrain. This one. So this is hindbrain. Now, diencephalon is part of brain between the cerebrum and brainstem. Midbrain, pons, medulla oblongata called as brainstem. Now, the diencephalon comprises two subdivisions. They are pars dorsalis, pars ventralis. They are pars dorsalis, pars ventralis. How these two are separated? They are separated by hypothalamic sulci. Now, I am giving you, this is the diencephalon part. This is the diencephalon part. If you remove the temporal lobe and cut the outer part of the diencephalon, you will find a characteristic appearance of diencephalon like this. Now, if you remove the temporal lobe covering the diencephalon, and if you remove this do a sagittal section of the diencephalon, you will find this is the corpus callosum. This is the corpus callosum. So this is the interventricular foramina. This is the hypothalamic sulcus. This is hypothalamic sulcus. So this entire one is diencephalon 1. This entire one is diencephalon 1. So hypothalamic sulcus from interventricular foramen anteriorly to the posteriorly to the duct of Sylvius, that is canal present in the midbrain. That is canal present in the midbrain. So up to the superior margin of the duct of Sylvius. Duct of Sylvius is the name given to the canal present in the midbrain. So this hypothalamic sulcus divides the entire diencephalon into dorsal part and ventral part. So these are the structures present in the ventral part. These are the structures present in the dorsal part. So all these are structures present below the hypothalamic sulcus. So you can call it as a part of hypothalamus. So above that hypothalamus sulcus, you can call them as a thalamus. So thalamus. So hypo below the thalamus. So this sulcus divides the diencephalon into this dorsal part and a ventral part. This is done by hypothalamic sulcus extending anteriorly from interventricular foramina to the canal of the midbrain, that is aqueduct of Sylvius or Sylvian duct. So like this, it divides into this part, dorsal part, and this part, ventral part. These are all contents present in the ventral part of the diencephalon. These are all contents present in the dorsal part of the diencephalon. So the cavity present in the diencephalon is called as third ventricle. This cavity present in the diencephalon is called as third ventricle. This cavity continues with the duct of Sylvius midbrain, and here this is the floor of the fourth ventricle. This is the cavity of the floor of the fourth ventricle. Now this is the cavity of the third ventricle. It continues with the midbrain canal, that is duct of Sylvius, and continues to the floor of the fourth ventricle and goes through the canal of the medulla and continues as spinal canal. So this is the division. This is the hypothalamic sulcus divides the entire diencephalon into dorsal part and a ventral part. So this is the hypothalamic part. This is the thalamic. Now this is the sagittal section with intact skull. This is mas intermedia. This is stria medullaris. This is the thalamus. So this is hypothalamic sulcus. This is hypothalamic sulcus. This is hypothalamus. This is the thalamus. So a large oval mass above the hypothalamic sulcus is called thalamus, and below the hypothalamic sulcus is called thalamus. So previous diagram I show you, this part is divided into number of nuclei. This part is divided into number of nuclei. This thalamus is also again divided into ventral thalamus and dorsal thalamus. So this again divided into ventral thalamus and dorsal thalamus. So above the hypothalamic sulcus, there is a large ovoid mass that is called thalamus. That is called thalamus. Now hypothalamus sulcus divides the diencephalon into dorsal part and ventral part. Dorsal part is called as pars dorsalis. Ventral part is called pars ventralis. So these two are separated by hypothalamic sulcus. Pars dorsalis contains thalamus. Pars ventralis contains hypothalamus. So that is pars dorsalis and pars ventralis. Now pars dorsalis above dorsal to the hypothalamic sulcus consists of thalamus, metathalamus, which include medial and lateral geniculate bodies, which include medial and lateral geniculate bodies. In yesterday lesson, I told you medial and lateral geniculate bodies, they are associated with superior colliculus and inferior colliculus in the midbrain. They are associated with superior colliculus and inferior colliculus in the midbrain. So the medial and lateral geniculate bodies are called as metathalamus. And epithalamus consists of pineal body, that is a gland, appendular nuclei, and commissure, posterior commissure, and stria medullaris thalami. So the pars dorsalis consists of three parts: thalamus, a major part, and a metathalamus, medial and lateral geniculate bodies. Epithalamus consists of pineal body, appendular nuclei, and commissure, posterior commissure, and stria medullaris. Now, the diencephalon is divided by an hypothalamic sulcus into dorsal part, pars dorsalis, and a ventral part, pars ventralis. Dorsal part consists of thalamus, metathalamus, and epithalamus, and major part of the diencephalon above the hypothalamic sulcus is occupied by the thalamus, then metathalamus and epithalamus, whereas the inferior to the hypothalamus, pars ventralis, is made up of hypothalamus. This is the division. Pars ventralis lies below the hypothalamic sulcus, consists of subthalamus and hypothalamus. So it is below the thalamus because hypothalamic sulcus is there, thalamus is above it. So below the hypothalamic sulcus, subthalamus, hypothalamus is there, and subthalamus is there. So the pars ventralis contains subthalamus and hypothalamus, and the pars dorsalis contains thalamus, metathalamus, and epithalamus. So pars ventralis contains subthalamus, hypothalamus. Once again, we have to go through these parts: thalamus, metathalamus, and epithalamus, pars dorsalis, above the hypothalamic sulcus. Epithalamus is nothing but pineal body. Metathalamus is nothing but medial and lateral geniculate body. Thalamus is nothing but thalamus. And the dorsal thalamus is considered as the thalamus. Now, so ventral thalamus is also there, but dorsal thalamus, you have to take it as a thalamus for all aspects. Now divisions: pars dorsalis, thalamus, dorsal thalamus, metathalamus, epithalamus. Now metathalamus, medial and lateral geniculate body; epithalamus, pineal gland, body, appendular nuclei, and commissure, and posterior commissure. So this is the pineal gland present in the central nervous system. It does not contain neurons. This is central nervous system contains neurons and fibers. Only pineal gland is the structure in the central nervous system which does not contain neurons. Pars ventralis. Pars ventralis contains subthalamus, that is ventral thalamus, and hypothalamus. So subthalamic nucleus, subdivisions, and zona incerta. So this is pars ventralis is subthalamus, and subthalamus is divided into subthalamic nucleus and zona ventralis and hypothalamus. So this is the table given in all of your standard textbooks. You have to study it, you have to learn it. Now thalamus is a large ovoid mass of gray matter. Already I show you how it is like a egg type, shape of an egg, separated from midbrain by subthalamus. Separated from midbrain by subthalamus. That means subthalamus intervenes between the thalamus and the midbrain. So there are two thalami, right and left. They are oval in shape, 3.5 centimeters length, 1.5 centimeters breadth. The two thalami are attached across the median plane by narrow interthalamic connexus of gray matter. Functionally, thalamus is considered as a great sensory gateway to the cerebral cortex. It receives impulses from opposite half of the body, contralateral. So thalamus, dorsal thalamus. For all aspects, thalamus is considered as a dorsal aspect. So there are two thalami, 3.5 centimeters length and 1.5 centimeters is the measurements, right thalamus and left thalamus. These two thalami, right thalami and left thalami, both are attached across the median plane by a narrow interthalamic connexus of gray matter. Functionally, the thalamus is considered as a great sensory gateway to the cerebral cortex. So all sensations, all afferent impulses coming from the body towards the center goes to the thalamus. From thalamus only, it goes to the cerebral cortex. So all sensory things of the human body are associated with thalamus. So thalamus is a great relay station, but it does not take judgment. It will be decided by the sensory cortex present in the cerebrum. That is the highest center. But thalamus is a relay station. It is a great sensory gateway. Because you remember already I told you olfactory nerve, optic nerve, both are attached to the forebrain. Both are attached to the forebrain. Olfactory nerve is not at all associated with the thalamus. Whereas optic tract, it is associated with geniculate body, that is metathalamus. So only the olfactory sensation is not associated with thalamus. Remaining all sensory modalities present in the human body is associated with thalamus, except olfactory. Olfactory sensations modalities is not associated with thalamus. Remaining all sensory modalities are associated with thalamus. So thalamus is considered as a great sensory gateway to the cerebral cortex. It receives impulses from opposite half of the body, contralateral but not ipsilateral. So lesions in the thalamus produces, so any lesion or any vascular lesion in the thalamus produces effects on opposite side of the body. Affects opposite side of the body. External features. Anterior end is narrow called tubercle. Posterior end is expanded called as known as pulvinar. I will show you. This is the thalamus. Anterior end is narrow called tubercle. Posterior end is expanded called pulvinar. Posterior end is expanded, it is called pulvinar. I will show you the diagram. So this is the thalamus. Anterior end is pointed. Posterior end is expanded. This is oval in shape, thalamus. This is the coronal section of the brain. Thalamus is nothing but a mass of gray matter. It consists of neurons. So white matter is less in thalamus when compared with other parts of the body, when other parts of the nervous system. Thalamus is nothing but a mass of neurons, is a mass of gray matter and contain only a few amount of white matter or white fibers. External features. Anterior end of the thalamus is narrow called tubercle. Posterior end is expanded known as pulvinar. Surfaces. Superior surface. Lateral part forms floor of the central part of the lateral ventricle. Inferior surface. Posterior part forms the inferior aspect of the pulvinar. Now this is the thalamus. This is the superior surface. So lateral part forms the floor of the, this is the central part of the lateral ventricle. So this lateral part forms the floor and medial part of the superior surface is choroid by tela choroida of the third ventricle. This is the third ventricle. It is present between the two thalami. So right thalamus and left thalami are separated by the third ventricle. Tela choroida of the third ventricle forms the medial boundary on the superior surface of the thalamus. So posterior surface. This is the posterior surface. This is the lateral surface is bounded by the posterior limb of the internal capsule. Medial surface of the thalamus is separated from the opposite thalamus medial surface by third ventricle. So superior surface. This is inferior surface pulvinar. This is the superior surface. Superior surface laterally forms the floor of the central part of the lateral ventricle. Medially superior surface is covered by the tela choroida, the third ventricle. Most medial surface is separate from the opposite medial surface of the thalamus by means of third ventricle where I put the cursor. So the lateral surface is covered by the posterior limb of the internal capsule. Posterior surface is called inferior surface is called pulvinar, and so it is has got subthalamus. It has got subthalamus. So below the surface of the thalamus is subthalamus. So below the thalamus is subthalamus. You have to know the identification between sub and hypo. Sub and hypo. Hypo means everything below it is called as hypo. Sub means immediately below is called sub. subway. That is immediately below the way is called subway. So in anatomy, sub and hypo. Hypo means all structures below it is called hypo. It can be far distant from above marking. So sub means immediately below it is called sub. That you have to know it. Inferior surface, posterior part forms the inferior aspect of the pulmina. Now this is the division. Coronal section. This is the central part of the lateral ventricle present in the cerebrum. This is the third ventricle. This entire one is third ventricle. Now this is the subthalamus. This is the red nucleus. That means it is the section of the midbrain. This is substantia nigra present in the midbrain. This is anterior part of the midbrain. It may be superior colliculus. It may be superior colliculus. So this elevation is such that. So this is the midbrain because it has done a coronal section. That means coronal line in the skull. Coronal section. This is the coronal section of the brain. It shows like this. What is ependema? The third ventricle is lined by ependema is nothing but cells lining the ventricular cavities. Cells lining the ventricular cavities is called ependema. So telachoroida is nothing but reflection of ependema. It contains blood vessels. This is the hypothalamus. This is the hypothalamus sulcus. This is the thalamus. This is the corpus callosum connecting the two cerebral hemispheres, right and left. This is the pituitary gland connecting the infundibulum. This is the mammillary body. This is the mammillary body. This is the midbrain. This is the midbrain. This is the mammillary body. So here it may be superior colliculus, it may be inferior colliculus. So the mammillary body is present on the anterior aspect of the midbrain. Internal structure consists mainly of gray matter and small amount of white matter. I already told you. White matter or lateral surface is called external medullary lamina. Superior surface stratum Joureli. Vertically Y-shaped internal medullary lamina divides the thalamus into anterior, dorsal and ventral. So a Y-shaped segment I will show you. This is a mass of thalamus is removed from the central nervous system brain and kept like this. A Y-shaped lamina dividing it into dorsal, anterior and ventral. So ventral, dorsal and anterior. So three parts. This one part, and this one part. This is the external medullary velum. This is a white matter, external medullary velum present. This is the lateral geniculate body. This is the medial geniculate body forming the metathalamus. This is the P. So anterior and posterior. So this is the lateral dorsal. Again, this ventral part. This is dorsal part. This ventral part is again divided into lateral dorsal, lateral posterior, ventral anterior, ventral lateral, ventral posterolateral. Again, this ventral posterolateral is again divided into ventral. This one is again divided into ventral posterolateral and ventral posteromedial. So this is ventral posterolateral. That means on that other side, ventral posteromedial is there. So our thalamus is nothing but a mass of gray matter containing only few white matter is divided into such nuclei. So these are all the proper nuclei present in the thalamus. So this is a white matter present. In this also certain nuclei are present. They are called as intralaminar nuclei. So according to that, all the nuclei present in the thalamus is divided into specific, non-specific and intralaminar nuclei. Specific thalamic nuclei and non-specific thalamic nuclei and intralaminar nuclei. All have got afferent connections and all have got afferent connections. Nuclei in anterior part is called anterior nucleus. Nuclei in medial part, large medial dorsal nucleus, small medial ventral nucleus. Nuclei in the lateral part are divided into dorsal and ventral part. Dorsal part are dorsal tier of nuclei and ventral part are called ventral tier of nuclei. In examination, they may ask questions. Ventral tier of nuclei and dorsal tier. All nuclei present in the dorsal part is called dorsal tier. All nuclei present in the ventral part is called ventral tier. Again, the ventral tier is divided into anterior, posterior, and ventral, lateral, again ventral medial and ventral lateral. Like that it is divided. So, dorsal nuclei. So, nuclei present in the dorsal part of Y limb of the thalamus is called dorsal tier of nuclei. Nuclei present in the ventral part of Y limb of the thalamus is called ventral tier of nuclei. Nuclei present in between the two arms of the Y, that is called anterior nuclei. Subdivision. Other thalamic nuclei. The thalamus contains other thalamic nuclei. Intralamellar nuclei, middle paraventricular nuclei, reticular nucleus, medial and lateral geniculate bodies. Medial and lateral geniculate bodies constitute the metathalamus. Already it has been given in the analysis. So you have to divide the thalami into different nuclei. Connections of the thalamic nuclei, how they connect. This is the motor area, premotor cortex, and motor area and sensory area. This is the thalamus. How they have got connections. So medial lemniscus and spinal lemniscus, trigeminal lemniscus and solitothalamic tract present in the midbrain. This is the inferior alveolar nucleus. This is the inferior alveolar nucleus present in the section of the pons. So this is the globus pallidus. Now all fibers are coming. Trigeminal lemniscus, medial lemniscus, and inferior alveolar nucleus. All fibers are coming. So fibers from the inferior alveolar nucleus end in the red nucleus. From the red nucleus, certain fibers arise and goes into this nucleus. What is this nucleus? So ventral anterior, ventral lateral nucleus. So they go into the ventral lateral nucleus. So ventral posterolateral and ventral posteromedial. So trigeminal lemniscus and solitothalamic tract present in the midbrain. From there, fibers comes and goes into. So all these are sensory fibers. Now, fibers from the parietal lobe. So from this one, this is the posterior part, this is the pulvinar part, this is the anterior part, pointed one, anterior tubercular, anterior nucleus. This is the pulvinar part. So from the pulvinar part, fibers goes to the parieto-temporal and from the occipital cortex. So from this nucleus present here, fibers goes to the cingulate gyrus that is immediately above the corpus callosum. Now from all the thalamic nuclei, fibers again coming from the corresponding nuclei. So you have to identify which nuclei are present in this one. From there they are going into the which part of the cerebral cortex. Like that, this is the sensory area 3, 1, 2. So this is the trigeminal lemniscus and solitothalamic tract from the midbrain gives sensory fibers to here one and goes to the sensory cortex 3 to 1. From here, medial lemniscus and spinal lemniscus, they go just below that area. So like that, all fibers coming from the sensory materials, that is midbrain, medial lemniscus, trigeminal lemniscus, solitothalamic tract, they are present in the ventrolateral to the central gray matter of the midbrain. You have to recollect the section of the midbrain at various levels, superior colliculus level, inferior colliculus level. You see these lemnisci, medial lemniscus, lateral lemniscus, spinal lemniscus, trigeminal lemniscus, how they are arranged. So all of these are sensory modalities. They get relayed in the thalamus and goes into the sensory cortex and goes into the sensory cortex and goes into the sensory cortex. Connections of specific nuclei. These receive input from certain ascending tracts and project it to the specific primary cortical areas. Already I told you what are the ascending tracts. I will again go to the first diagram. These are all ascending tracts. This is ascending tract. These are all ascending tracts. They are relaying in the thalamus and going into the concerned areas. Sensory cortex. So this is a motor cortex. This is premotor cortex. So all are going and relaying in the, but the thalamus is a major sensory gateway. It is a major sensory relay station in the human body, central nervous system, except olfactory. So how there gets relayed, and again from there fibers arises and goes to the corresponding areas in the cerebral cortex, which is highest center of the central nervous system. Now, connections of the specific thalamic nuclei. Ventral posterior, ventral posterior, ventral posteromedial, trigeminal lemniscus, solitothalamic tract. You have to compare. Trigeminal lemniscus, solitothalamic tract, this nucleus. This nucleus. So, ventral posterior, ventral posteromedial, ventral posterolateral. So, then it goes to post-central gyrus, area 3-1 and 2. I will show you how they have gone to area 3-1-2. This is area 3-1-2. Ikkadi nunchi fibers, trigeminal lemniscus, solitothalamic tract fibers. These are going and occupying the sensory cortex 3-1-2. 3-1-2. How they get? This is the connection from here. This is midbrain, trigeminal lemniscus, solitothalamic tract. Here, this is the ventral posterolateral and ventral posteromedial nucleus. This nucleus and this nucleus. See, the same dots are present here, the same dots are present here. He has named here, he has not named here because diagram will be blurred if they name here. Then it goes to the sensory cortex. Like that, the table is drawn. Like that, this table is drawn. It is present in all of your standard textbooks. You have to see the diagram. You have to compare the literature. How it is present. So then only you will get a clear-cut idea. Now clinical correlation. Ventral posteromedial receive general sensory modalities from head and face. Already I have made this PowerPoint in a simplified manner that will be more useful. So what sensations? So already I allowed you to see the fibers, how they are coming. Now there is a ventral posteromedial nucleus receives general sensory modalities from head and face. Ventral posterolateral nucleus receives exterioceptive sensations of pain, touch and temperature. Anterior nucleus, that is anterior to the Y shape, or between the horns of the Y, its connections is necessary for attention, recent memory. So, injury of that area, loss of attention and recent memory. Medial dorsal nucleus is associated with moods, emotional balance, that is above the Y limb, that is above the Y limb. Medial dorsal nucleus. Now this is the medial dorsal nucleus. This is the ventral nucleus. This is the anterior nucleus. This is the pulvinar nucleus. So medial dorsal nucleus, attention and recent memory. The moods and emotional balance. Anterior nucleus, necessary for attention and recent memory. So anterior nucleus. This you read this literature, you see the diagram. So this is what is associated with attention and recent memory. So like that, what type of nucleus, how it receives sensory fibers from which part, what type of sensory modalities are carried through these fibers to the cerebral cortex is detailed in this connection. We have to go in such a manner while you are reading the PowerPoint and also the testimony. As a teacher, I am trying my best to explain you. If you have got any doubts or any clarifications, you have to once again see my lecture in your videos. It is present, and go through the lecture repeatedly. See the textbook, see the diagram, read it, read it, read it. You will become perfect. Connections of non-specific nuclei. They do not receive afferents from descending tracts. Nuclei of this group comprise anterior nuclei, dorsal medial nucleus, dorsal tire nuclei of thalamus. Anterior nuclei, dorsal medial nucleus, they are non-specific nuclei. They do not receive afferent fibers. Connections of reticular nuclei. Reticular nuclei include reticular nucleus, intralaminar nuclei, that is Y band, and median nuclei. These are connected with reticular formation. These are connected with reticular formation. So, connections of ventral and lateral group of thalamic nuclei. How he has given this connection? Already I told you. I have explained you this connection. Again through the diagram. Functions of thalamus. So, the thalamus is a major sensory gateway. It receives all sensory modalities from the entire body, except olfactory sensation. It is a sensory integration and relay station of all sensory relay stations of all sensory pathways except for olfactory. Capable of recognition, influence voluntary movements by receiving impulses from basal ganglia and cerebellum. Basal ganglia means corpus striatum, amygdaloid body and nucleus and etc. They are called basal ganglia. Influence voluntary movements by receiving impulses from basal ganglia and cerebellum. Through what is head ganglion of Sherrington? You have to recollect your memory because the class has been over. So basal ganglia means corpus striatum, amygdaloid body and nucleus. Through ascending reticular activating system, maintenance of wakefulness and alertness, affective reactions, determination of mood. It plays a role in synchronization or desynchronization of electroencephalogram waves. Our heart is beating. Electrocardiography is taken. Electric waves. Like our brain is functioning. So electroencephalographic waves will occur. They will be recorded. It is called as electroencephalographic waves. A proper synchronization or desynchronization of ECG waves is taken part by the thalamus. If the thalamus is good, a proper synchronization is there. If thalamus is not good, desynchronization and improper waves and irregular waves of electroencephalography, alpha waves, gamma waves, delta waves. Alpha, gamma, delta. So there are some types of waves in electroencephalography. These are all in a coordinated way in good condition if the thalamus is good. If the thalamus is injured or damaged, desynchronization of electroencephalograph waves occurs. We take EEG, definitely you can assess the function of the thalamus. So thalamic syndrome and thalamic hand. So already I told you, it is sensations from all parts of the body except the olfactory thing. So all things occurring in the contralateral, loss of pain, touch, sensation, etc., etc. Because of thalamo-geniculate arteries supply the blood to the thalamus. If they are damaged, thalamus will be damaged and thalamic syndrome will be occurred. So thalamic hand. In thalamic hand is pronated, wrist is flexed, metacarpophalangeal joint is flexed, and carpo-metacarpal joint is extended. Such is the thalamic hand. So hand is pronated, wrist joint is flexed, metacarpophalangeal joint is flexed. So metacarpophalangeal joint. So at the end of carpal bone and the phalanx, it is extended. So pronation, flexion of wrist, and extension of metacarpophalangeal joint occurs in thalamic hand. Metathalamus consists of medial and lateral geniculate bodies. The medial and lateral geniculate bodies are relay stations for auditory and visual pathways respectively. So already I told you medial geniculate body is associated with inferior colliculus. Lateral geniculate body is associated with superior colliculus. So superior colliculus is connected to the lateral geniculate body by means of superior brachium. Medial geniculate body is connected to the medial colliculus, inferior colliculus and midbrachium by means of inferior brachium. These two are associated with lateral geniculate body with vision and medial geniculate body with auditory pathways. It is a part of metathalamus. I will show you. This is the lateral geniculate body. This is the medial geniculate body. This is the superior colliculus. This is the inferior colliculus. This is the inferior colliculus. This is the inferior colliculus, superior colliculus. Now, how the superior colliculus is connected to the lateral genicular body by means of superior brachia. So, inferior colliculus is connected. This is the inferior colliculus connected to the medial genicular body. This connection is called inferior brachium. This is inferior brachium. This is superior brachium. So, this is superior colliculus connected to the lateral genicular body associated with vision. So, again, this is connected to the optic tract. How this is occurs. So, lesion of this medial genicular body causes same side blindness of the retina, the same side, because it is coming from the same lesion. So, medial genicular body is associated with auditory function, is associated with inferior colliculus. This is the inferior brachium connecting the inferior colliculus with the medial genicular body. This is midbrain. You are seeing from below upwards. You are seeing from the below. You are seeing the section of the midbrain from below. So, these two are mammillary bodies. These two are mammillary bodies. This is tuber cinereum. It is a normal elevation of the inferior aspect of the pulvinar of the thalamus. Connections. Afferent auditory path passes through the fibers of the inferior colliculus. Afferent geniculocortical fibers project as auditory radiation. Lateral genicular body is a small ovoid prominence at the terminal end of optic tract. It is smaller than medial genicular body, connected to the superior colliculus by superior brachium. Structure of gray matter of lateral genicular body consists of 6 layers separated by nerve fibers. Now this is the one layer, 1 layer, 4th layer and 6th layer. Fibers from retina of the opposite side. Fibers from retina of the same side. 1, 5th, 3rd and 2, 2, 3, 5. So, fibers from retina of the same side. Fibers from retina of the opposite side. So, if this is involved, this part is involved, fibers from retina of the opposite side. So, opposite retina, blindness in opposite half of the retina occurs in the opposite sided eye. Fibers from retina of the same side, if this one, 2, 3, 5 layers are involved. 6 layers of lamina of lateral genicular body separated by white matter. This is 1 layer of gray matter, 1 layer of gray matter, 6 layers of gray matter is there separated by white fibers. This is the structure of lateral genicular body. Connections afferent, lateral root of optic tract, afferent geniculocortical fiber project as optic radiation. Now comparison between medial and lateral genicular body, you have to see oval-shaped collection of gray matter on the inferior aspect of the pulvinar. Bean-shaped collection, shape also differs. Collection of gray matter on the inferior aspect of the pulvinar. Hilum absent, hilum is present in lateral genicular body. No lamination in medial genicular body, consists of 6 lamina. Destruction of medial genicular body on one side has little or no effect on hearing. So, if medial genicular body is destructed on one side, if both sides are destructed, then complete loss of hearing occurs. Loss of hearing occurs. If only one side of the medial genicular body is damaged, no damage, you can hear normally. Destruction of lateral genicular body on one side produces blindness in the opposite half of the field of the vision. Last relay station on the auditory pathway, last relay station on the optic pathway, sends auditory impulses through the auditory radiation to the auditory area of the temporal lobe, sends visual impulses through optic radiation to the visual cortex of the occipital lobe. Because I am a little fast, because the subject is vast. The time is only 1 hour. If they give me another half an hour, I am ready to tell you, okay, if you have got interest in hearing the lectures, you have to record the lecture, you have to hear it. Epithalamus, pineal gland. Epiphysis cerebri, midline cone-shaped reddish grey structure occupying vertical groove between 2 superior colliculi. The stalk of gland is divided into 2 lamina. Ventral lamina continues with the posterior curvature. Dorsal lamina superior continues with the appendular curvature. Epithalamus. I will show you pineal gland. This is the pineal gland. So this is the superior lamina of the stalk. This is the inferior lamina of the stalk. This is the posterior curvature. This is the superior colliculus of the midbrain. This is the inferior colliculus of the midbrain. So this lamina, inferior lamina, is connected to the midbrain. This is appendular curvature. So superior lamina of the stalk of the pineal gland is connected to the appendular curvature. So inferior lamina of the stalk of the pineal gland is connected to the midbrain. Superior colliculus is midbrain. So the pineal gland is present between this superior colliculus and superior colliculus present on another side. This is the superior colliculus on right side, superior colliculus on the left side. In between these two superior colliculus, in between this side superior colliculus and other side superior colliculus only, this pineal gland is present. So pineal gland calcification. Pineal gland is supplied by a nerve called nervus coronari. Nervus coronari is the nerve that is coming from outside the central nervous system. This is only the nerve supplying the brain from outside, that is nervus coronari. It is a neuroendocrine gland made up of pinealocytes and neuroglial cells. Pinealocytes secrete melatonin. Functions described it as the seat of soul. So it modulates and regulates other endocrine glands, pineal gland. So pineal gland controls and regulates the other endocrine gland. It acts as a biological clock for physiological and behavioral control. So morning food, evening food, afternoon food, nighttime sleep, this is called a biological clock. This biological clock is maintained by the pineal gland. It secretes hormone melatonin, inhibits secretion of gonadotrophin. So gonadotropins are associated with the development of sex characters, puberty. So if pineal gland is involved, precocious puberty will occur. It has inhibitory effect on reproductive system. So it inhibits the development of reproduction. So if pineal gland is affected, so inhibitory effect on reproductive system of loss occurs, and so it comes precocious puberty. Early puberty occurs in both male and female if pineal gland is damaged. Melatonin probably holds back the reproductive development until a suitable age has reached by inhibiting the secretion of gonadotrophic hormone. So you will become adult only at the age of getting 16 years. So that will be controlled by the pineal gland. If the pineal gland is destructed, you will become adult at the age of 10 years. That is precocious puberty. A girl will become adult at the age of 6 years or 7 years. If the pineal gland is lost. Because at what age puberty has to come, it will be decided by the control of pineal gland that is lost if pineal gland is damaged. Precocious puberty, calcification of the pineal gland. Habengular nucleus, together with its connections, form the part of the limbic system. Habengular commission, posterior commission. Subthalamus is the most ventral part of diencephalon. It lies between the thalamus and midbrain. It is ventral to the thalamus, medial to internal capsule, lateral to hypothalamus. Oh, I will show you all these structures. These are all the thalamus. Preoptic nucleus, mammillary nucleus. This is supraoptic nucleus. What nuclei are present? So hypothalamus, this is the entire hypothalamus, is nothing but a collection of nucleus. Hypothalamus is nothing but a collection of nucleus. Subdivisions of hypothalamus. Hypothalamus is a part of diencephalon, lies below the thalamus. It forms floor and lower part of the lateral wall of the third ventricle. Weight is 4 grams. Already I show you. I tell you, it is nothing but a group of nucleus. Hypothalamus controls 3 systems: autonomic nervous system, endocrine system, limbic system. Hypothalamus helps to maintain the homeostasis, balance of your body, balance of your blood pressure and everything. Limbic system, hypothalamus. So autonomic nervous system, endocrine system, limbic system, hypothalamus helps to maintain the homeostasis. These are all the functions of the hypothalamus. It is regarded as head ganglion of the autonomic system by Sherrington. So this is head ganglion of the autonomic system. Already I told you basal ganglion. That is corpus striatum, amygdaloid body and nucleus. Hypothalamus is placed close to the limbic system. Boundaries anteriorly, posteriorly, inferiorly, superiorly, laterally and medially. What boundaries are present? We have to know it. Subdivisions of hypothalamus. Hypothalamus is divided into two lateral halves by cavity of the third ventricle, medial and lateral, because The cavity of the third ventricle extends throughout the diencephalon. It is a cavity of the diencephalon is called as third ventricle. Hypothalamus sulcus divides it into dorsal part and ventral part. Dorsal part and ventral part. So the dorsal part also the third ventricle extends, the ventral part also third ventricle extends. So hypothalamus is divided into medial and lateral zones, mammillothalamic tract and fasciculus retroreflexus. Now this is the hypothalamus divided by this is the cavity of the third ventricle. This is the thalamus. Immediately this is the hypothalamic sulcus. So this is the hypothalamus divided by the cavity of the third ventricle into medial one and two halves. This is one part of hypothalamus. This is another part of hypothalamus. This is the cavity of the third ventricle. This is the thalamus. So this third ventricle also extends into the entire diencephalon. So thalamus and hypothalamus are also part of diencephalon. From medial to lateral side, the hypothalamus is divided into periventricular zone, intermediate zone, and lateral zone. Hypothalamus is also subdivided anteroposterior into 4 regions: preoptic region, supraoptic region, tubular region, and mammillary region. You see the diagram of hypothalamus. All these are nucleus. This is the pineal gland. This is the superior colliculus. This is the inferior colliculus of the midbrain. Afferent and afferents are numerous and complex collections of hypothalamus. Afferents: fornix, stria terminalis, mammillary peduncle, medial forebrain bundle, thalamo-hypothalamic, papillo-hypothalamic, subthalamo-hypothalamic pathways. Direct physical and chemical receptors are also associated with hypothalamus. Afferent connections: mammillothalamic tract, mammillategmental tract, descending fibers to the brainstem and spinal cord. Hypothalamus is connected to the neurohypophysis and adenohypophysis through supra-optico-hypophyseal and tubero-infundibular tracts respectively. Hypothalamus is connected to the adenohypophysis and neurohypophysis. So pituitary gland, anterior part is adenohypophysis, posterior part is neurohypophysis. Neurohypophysis is connected by means of tracts. Anterior hypophysis is connected to the immediately above the part by means of venous plexus. Connections of hypothalamus, hypophysis, cerebri. Connections with the neurohypophysis. So this is the anterior part, adenohypophysis, posterior part, neurohypophysis. So this is venous drainage, paraventricular nucleus, mammillary body, supraoptic nucleus. This is the hypothalamus. So this is the hypothalamus. This is the optic chiasma. This is the thalamus. So here is the diagram. You see this diagram. You see this diagram. This is the pituitary gland attached to the base of the brain. This is the hypothalamus. So the entire one. So if you imagine a hypothalamus sulcus here, so the above part is thalamus. This is hypothalamus. So this is the diagram. Here again I will give you a clear-cut idea of showing the diagram. So you see this diagram. This is the adenohypophysis. This is the hypothalamus. This is the thalamus. This is the pineal body. This is the superior colliculus. This is the inferior colliculus. So my dear student, I will advise you to read the PowerPoint once again, and see the diagrams once again. Repetition of studies and repetition of observation is only the guidelines for a medical student to get success through the subject. A single reading is not sufficient. Afferent connections: mammillothalamic tract, mammillategmental tract, descending fibers to the brainstem and spinal cord. Hypothalamus is connected to the neurohypophysis and adenohypophysis through supra-optico-hypophyseal and tubero-infundibular tracts respectively. Connection of hypothalamus with hypophysis cerebri is the diagram. Clinical correlation: diabetes insipidus. So diabetes insipidus, vasopressin or otherwise oxytocin is produced by the neurohypophysis. Diabetes insipidus, polyuria and polydipsia. Diabetes mellitus is associated with glucose, glycosuria, that is associated with insulin. Diabetes insipidus is associated with vasopressin or oxytocin. So you have to identify diabetes insipidus and diabetes mellitus. Diabetes mellitus is associated with glycosuria, that is associated with insulin producing cells present in the pancreas, islets of Langerhans. So diabetes insipidus is associated with hypothalamus, oxytocin, vasopressin and oxytocin change. So you have to identify diabetes insipidus and diabetes mellitus. Connections with adenohypophysis, tumoroinflammatory tract, hypothalamo-hypophyseal portal system. Functions of hypothalamus: autonomic control, endocrine control, control neurosecretion, regulation of food and water intake, emotional expression, regulates the sexual behavior and reproduction, temperature regulation, biological clock. Already I told you the pineal body is also associated with biological clock. This also associated with biological clock. This is also associated with biological clock. Because this is associated with pineal gland. Craniopharyngioma, it is a congenital tumor from remnants of the Rathke's pouch. So, from the Rathke's pouch, a tumor develops. Tumor means an excessive growth and compresses the hypophysis, causes craniopharyngioma. Third ventricle is the cavity of the diencephalon, already I told you. It is present between two thalami and parts of the hypothalamus. Ependema, interthalamic adhesions, I show you. Anterior wall, posterior wall, roof, floor, and lateral wall. So you have to name the boundaries like this, and you have to identify the boundaries and name the boundaries also. Anterior wall, what is present? Posterior wall, what is present? Roof, what is present? Floor, what is present? Lateral wall, what is present? Regarding the third ventricle. Now this entire one is the third ventricle. This entire one is the third ventricle. So this entire one is the third ventricle. Roof is formed by the inferior surface of this one, corpus callosum. This is the corpus callosum. This is the one extension. Column of fornix. Column of fornix. So roof is formed by. Anterior part of the third ventricle is formed by the lamina terminalis. So like that. Inferior part is formed from the after chiasma to the hypothalamus above the adenohypophysis and neurohypophysis. So this is the floor of the third ventricle. This is the posterior boundary of the third ventricle. So the entire one is the third ventricle. So this is the tegmentum of the midbrain, ventral part of the midbrain. This is the dorsal part of the midbrain, superior colliculus, inferior colliculus. You have to identify races of the third ventricle, infundibulum races, optic or chiasmatic races, anterior races, uvula, ventricle, prospect. Races is nothing but an extension of cavity into a blind loop, that is called races. So infundibulum races, optic races. I will show you. This is optic chiasma. This is a optic races of the third ventricle. This is the infundibulum. Is a stalk connecting the anterior pituitary and posterior pituitary. Both together are called pituitary to the hypothalamus. So a cavity of the third ventricle extends into the stalk of the pituitary gland, that is the infundibulum, is called infundibular races. So this is also one races. This is called anterior cavigel races. So this is another races. So like that. These are all hypothalamic sulcus. This is intrathalamic adhesion. So this is the optic races. So this is the anterior races. This is the anterior race of the third ventricle. This is suprapineal races. This is the pineal gland. This is the pineal gland. So a blind cavity of the third ventricle extends. Above it, it is called a suprapineal races. So recess is nothing but an extension of cavity of anything into any part, into a blind cavity, that is called a recess. Choroid flexion telachoroid of the third ventricle. Telachoroid in the roof of the third ventricle is triangular in shape. Blood vessels contributing it are derived from anterior choroidal arteries. Craniopharyngioma is a congenital tumor from remnants of the Rathke's pouch. So at the end of the section, I will thank you, all of you, for your patient learning, because it is a big chapter. You have to know what is diencephalon. Diencephalon is present between the cerebrum and the midbrain. Diencephalon is divided by hypothalamic sulcus into dorsal part and a ventral part. And the dorsal part contains the thalamus. Ventral part below the hypothalamic sulcus is called hypothalamus. Now various divisions of the thalamus. Anterior part, anterior tapering part is called anterior tubercle. Posterior widened part is called pulvinar. So thalamus is nothing but a nucleus. It's a mass of gray matter containing a little amount of white matter. It is divided by a Y-shaped limb into anterior part present between the two limbs of the Y shape, and dorsal to that dorsal medial nucleus, and ventral to it is ventral nucleus. Again, they are subdivided into nucleus. So you can divide all the nuclei of the thalamus into specific nuclei and non-specific nuclei and intralaminar nuclei. What are their afferent connections and what are their afferent connections? What is the function of thalamus? It is the main principal gateway of all modalities of sensation except the olfactory. So, what are the functions of the thalamus? Then, hypothalamus. What are the functions of the hypothalamus? Hypothalamus is nothing but a group of nuclei. Group of nuclei. What are their connections? Afferent connections, afferent connections. And what are the functions of the hypothalamus? And you have to know the third ventricle because cavity of the diencephalon is the third ventricle. So, what is its extensions? So, ependema is nothing but a lining of the third ventricle. It is associated with the cerebrospinal fluid. So, blind extension of third ventricle into a blind spots is called a recess. And you have to know it, all the subject repeatedly and repeatedly. Observation of the diagram, studying the theory and studying the PowerPoint. Only a repeated reading and repeated observation will make you perfect. Not a single reading and commenting that teacher is not telling. So it is a common mistake committed by majority of the students. You have to repeat it. You have to repeat it. You have to repeat it, read it, and read it. Thank you very much for your patient learning. Okay, wish you best of luck. Okay, sir. ఎక్కడ పెట్టుకున్నా